And we're back with more Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, Song of Ice and Fire chats. Today we're going to be talking about Dan's top 5 favorite Game of Thrones theories. These would be.
Thanks for having me, Caleb.
These would be the theories that I would say we should probably, up until let's say about season 7, I guess, the theories that were probably your favorite ones until maybe about season 7, halfway through, because I know there were a lot of things that kind of went by the wayside very quickly. I think right after the fall of Castle Rock and all that.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Caleb. Appreciate the chance to talk
your
about
channel
it.
too.
No, it's just it's nice to get together and have a good show like this where we talk about what we like. And just some of the theories. Like I think post like season 6 and 7, really people had a lot of hopes that like there was going to be like this big reveals for a lot of these plot points, and a lot of it was convoluted. I think just like a basic one is, where people thought Arya wasn't actually stabbed, and it was one of the faceless men, and it was a test for the waif, and then it was just all this stuff, and then turns out no, she just got stabbed and thrown in the water and ran across the city, like even though the person who just stabbed her was still chasing her. But I remember a lot of theories like that. But I would say one of my favorite theories that was kind of getting out at the time, where it was like season 8 was like peaking, right? Like there was like a lot of theories going around, especially leading up to like the Night King's battle. And something I kind of really enjoyed was when people thought that there was going to be like the Starks of Winterfell were going to rise up from the crypts and help defend Winterfell from the Night King, or then people accurately guessed that, hey, it's actually going to be full of zombies. But then people online were like, oh, well, they're in stone, so it's not going to be able to do anything. But then that was all proved wrong when they were punching through it. I don't know, stupid ending. And I know there were some other ones too. Like people thought that the Tyrells were planning something all before they got blown up. And let's see, another favorite one of mine was when people thought that the Manderleys were going to play a larger role in helping the Jon and Sansa get back the North. There's a whole huge plot line in the books where, and they totally did they totally did our boy Lord Umber.
Well,
total
we'll
injustice.
Get to the books. The books will be another video.
Yeah, well, this this just like explains why people were thinking it was going to happen in the show, like because there's like kind of like a conspiracy in the books, so people thought that was going to translate into the show a little bit more, and maybe like the Umbers were going to betray the Boltons, and the Manderleys were going to show up and help fight, but no, the Glover, like that dude is like he's so committed to the Starks in the books, but he's not in the show. He hated him apparently. Because the Boltons got rid of the Ironborn, even though that's what Stannis did in the books. But regardless of that, people thought that they were going to betray him up until the Battle of the Bastards. People were like, no, they're going to turn on him in this episode, and it was like it's going to be revealed that it wasn't Shaggy Dog's head, because that head was too small, and it was actually still alive, and they're going to reveal it, and Rickon's going to, it's all this stuff, and it didn't happen. So that was kind of like a hopeful theory that people had that it was going to happen, because season 5 was kind of, I don't know, it was a little tough to watch. It was, a lot of people loved it, and then I just think it was a little tough to watch just because it started really deviating from the books. But that's a different, like Caleb said, that's a different conversation.
So what's you've mentioned a bunch so far. What's your 5th favorite theory?
Yeah, my 5th favorite theory is that it has to do a lot with like the Brotherhood without banners and the stories. Like people thought there was going to be a lot more Brotherhood without banners, like them fighting the Freys after the Red Wedding, because there's a good bit of that foreshadowed in the books. It's like they're the ones who were kind of giving them their comeuppance, but. And like, although we did get it later with Arya, like it was kind of all summed up with her doing it. Like people thought that there was going to be like, so I thought there was going to be some really cool scenes where we were going to get a little bit more revenge, because the one scene we did get was with the Hound. Was like, oh, you bastards, killed everybody, and it's like, oh man, like the Brotherhoods Without Banners are like this kind of cool rebel group. Like they don't have any lords. Like they followed King Robert, so now they're like they don't have anybody that they adhere to. So everyone thought I thought there was going to be a lot of them coming back, but they kind of wrapped all that up in season 6 and 7, and then there was a good nod. There was a big nod to the guy who had a big yellow cloak. I don't know if you remember the Hound killed him.
Yes.
Oh, and then the Brotherhood Without Banners did show up. They're like, oh, we're tracking these bad guys, and then they showed up and they went to the wall. Yeah, I guess that did happen, but we thought there was going to be a little bit more along the way there of like, hey, let's kill some Freys along the way. These kinslaying, or not, I mean, not kinslaying, but guest right violating bastards.
Absolutely. Well, the guest right was a huge thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was a huge deal, because that's people basically are like, you don't deserve any of our social customs now that you've spit on our faces with what you've done. So that's what kind of in the books, like people don't like, that's hostile to them. Like they've got to watch out, because people are going to have no mercy on them. At least that's what's foreshadowed in the book.
Well, you even see some of that in later episodes, where I think Jaime does it when the Freys show up, or when he and the Lannister army shows up to the Frey siege of Riverrun, and he makes a comment about, oh, were you the one that killed the pregnant woman, or the weaponless knight?
Yeah, I mean, even in the books, Jaime doesn't really respect them, because they all like think that's like such a good victory, and then Jaime's like, we are so exposed here, like we have got to wrap this up, because if we don't, like this is going to prolong, and they're going to get more bold. So he like really takes control of the siege, which is a really cool couple of chapters. And people were really glad when that came back in the season, because they went to Dorne first, which doesn't ever happen. So you're like, huh?
Right. Yeah.
Why don't they just do the Riverland stuff? And then they do the Riverland stuff. You're like, okay, this at least was.
And I really liked the look of it. It really did look kind of peakish Game of Thrones. I felt like we kind of went back to, let's say, season 3 or 4, where there seemed to be a lot of effort in making everything look real.
Yeah, I definitely think that the aesthetics were really good in that scene. Like it looked gross. It looked like a nasty siege. Everything was all muddy and wet, and nobody wanted to be there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, it looked really good. I couldn't really agree with the way they wrapped it up. It was like, hey, all these men are super loyal to the Blackfish. We're all gonna die for the Riverrun. Like we're gonna die for it. Nah, we're all gonna just betray our liege lord, and then because Edmure is back, who it's like, okay, why would you ever listen to what this guy was saying?
Yeah. So your fourth favorite theory?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of more of the theories that were happening at the time, because it's hard for when there are theories for stuff that happens. Like everyone's like, obviously we love R plus L equals J, even though it really didn't do anything in the books. Kind of more or less confirmed it in the books for us. Yeah, it didn't lead to anything in the show, so that's why it was like, okay, well, it was good theory that everybody really liked. It's probably the number. It's probably the most famous one.
If that was one of your favorite theories, let's talk about that.
Yeah, no, I like that theory a lot, because it's obviously one of the main draws of the show, or in the books. It's like one of the mysteries, like who is Jon's mother. And, it's really set up a lot in the first book, and really, really well done. It's set up a lot in the first season too. So it was just good. I wish it had led to something better. Obviously, I wish it was like he became the king, or he had some sort of claim. In the books, people think that because he's dead, he's going to come back with white hair, so he's going to look a lot more Targaryen. It's kind of cool. Like they think maybe he's going to like embody some of Ghost, so he's going to have white hair and red eyes. Like I don't know. People say that's too anime, but I don't know. I could see it. It's a fantasy show.
Well, see, that's series. The thing. That's for anyone out there that doesn't know, the reason Game of Thrones got made was because David Benioff and Dan Benioff and Dave Weiss went and they talked to George and said, hey, we want to make this show. And George basically had one question. He said, who is Jon's mom? And apparently they went away for a little bit, and they came back and they said, it's Lyanna Stark. And that's why they were allowed to make the show, because apparently multiple other people had come to George and said, "We want to make a show for your books," and they couldn't answer the question, and that's why Dan and Dave were allowed to make the show. And of
Yeah,
course,
that's true, Caleb.
they get up to finally showing the answer, and we just kind of get a bunch of lame stuff after that.
Yes, thank you for agreeing. Yeah, it was a big reveal, but it was so weird too because it was like Gilly found it, and Sam was like, "Oh, an annulment is this," and she's like, "Oh, okay. Well, here's like crucial evidence that would have been used in the war of." It just was weird that they found it like so weirdly. Yeah. Like there's like a few people who know about it in the book universe, but or theorized who know about it, like Howland Reed. People think he knows because he's the only one who survived the Tower of Joy. But so there's a lot of cool theories that are out there. A lot of people thought, like for a long time, I guess my third favorite, if that's okay to move on to the next one.
Let's go. Number 3
is the third favorite would be that Valyrian Steel could like fight the White Walkers and kill them. Like that was not confirmed in the books. It was like people thought about it for a long time. Like people thought it was going to be like Valyrian Steel and Dragonglass and stuff like that. So it was really cool to see that confirmed in Hardhome. I really love that, at least that piece of canon that they added or confirmed. It was really fun, even though I disagree a lot with that episode in terms of how they set up the zombies because it's just way too hard. But still a good episode.
What you said in your in our previous video about with your 5 favorite oh my gosh, was it moments? I think it was moments.
Yeah, moments, because that was my number one moment.
Yeah, and you were talking about how it was great for this, but it's terrible because of the zombies. And yeah, no, you're completely right. It really does. It does just destroy the chance, the possibility of survival.
Yeah, and it takes away ours as like the person who's in the like realm of the people in it. Like we have to kind of ride along with them. It kind of takes our suspension of just like we're like yours. There's no way you can hold against that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Like, and we know, like I could tell that last battle was going to be like, okay, well, if this just ends with all the heroes swinging swords around, and you know what I mean, I was like, and that's what it turned into. It was like, we're all alive, just us, nobody else. I was like, okay.
It kind of turned into, you know how we get member berries in everything now. That's what that's what that battle turned into. It turned into member berries. We got Sam presenting Jorah with Heartsbane. We had
no sense.
Then we saw Lyanna die. And so you get all these little remember this, and that's just kind of what it felt like. That's a different thing. That's a different thing. Let's move on.
We could have a whole episode about just the Battle of Winterfell. Maybe we probably should.
Second fan theory, and again, this is, because you started. I think you said you started in season 2. So this is literally any theory during your entire enjoyment of the show that you heard that you were like, I hope that becomes the thing.
Yeah, okay, season 2. I mean, that's a good one in there too, because I thought that because they said that Talisa, Rob's wife, the stand-in for Jane Westerling from the books, right. They said that she was from Volantis, and Volantis is like a big player in the world. They have a lot of power, a lot of money, and they're like the last daughter of Valyria, or the first daughter, really. And people think there was a lot going on there. There's political parties, and they said that her dad was part of one of the big political parties, part of the Tigers. And you thought that maybe there was going to be some kind of justice for her, or something was going to happen for any part of her being killed so mercilessly, but then that of like a king, like that'd be cool if they had a role with the North War. Like they were like, okay, well, we'll ship stuff to you guys and stop sending it to King's Landing. And Wyman Manderly built a fleet so we can start trading like that. That's kind of cool stuff. But none of that ever came into it. It was almost like, why even make her from Volantis? Why even say put it from Dorne? That would make way more sense. or do anything. Be like put her from the Stormlands or the Westerlands is what makes it good in the books. It's like she's a daughter of a Westerland noble, and it's like this weird little carve out in the books where the North and the Riverlands have taken part of the Westerlands, so they've taken the castle. So they have like Stark banners there, and they've pledged fealty to the houses. So it's weird, but it's cool. So yeah, a big theory back then was when people thought Talisa's family or anything to do with Volantis was going to have any connection whatsoever to the show. People were like, "Oh, that's going to be kind of cool." Like brings in the East earlier, and that's kind of a good argument to be made. It's like, well, there's a lot going on. We don't need to dump it all after the Purple Wedding, like it happens in the books. So yeah, I mean that's pretty good. But yeah, so that's probably my number 2. I thought that was going to have any role to do with it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Your favorite theory, starting all the way at the beginning, all the way to and even one that you still think they should have put in the show.
Yeah, I mean, I know I touched on it earlier, and I think I just kind of brought it up, but I don't know if it's in my numerical list. But really, the Umbers and the Manderleys should have betrayed the Boltons at that battle. That would have made it so much better. It would have been so much more like, oh, there was all this conspiracy. Like they did put thought into this season. It wasn't just stupid. Like it was like, oh, well, we were loyal to the Starks, but now we hate them. It's like, why? That's like the whole opposite of the books. Like they were like all super loyal. And they were all like lying to the Boltons, and they could only do it because they were hostages, and that would have been fun to see if that was kind of like an aspect of it. And another thing, like a smaller detail, but people thought that Rickon was trying to be brave, and he was like going undercover, and he was going to kill Ramsay like himself. Like he was going to somehow like he was going to him and the Umbers planned it, and he was going to reveal it, and then the Umbers were going to just start fighting the Boltons as soon as they were like between them and the Stark forces.
Mm-hmm.
But everything kind of got messed up because Jon. Well, no, I mean it didn't get messed up because that was never the plan. But that was the theory. Was like there was a plan there. There's going to be a big turn at the battle, and like the Manderleys were going to show up, and because they're such a big part of that. And yeah, I mean, I really thought that it was going to happen in the books or in the show. I was like, man, they could still do it right now. He could just turn over and just chop Ramsay's head off or like punch him in the mouth, and you'd be like, what? You'd be like, hi, like you thought we would listen to you after like it just starts beating him up and all of his men are like killing the Boltons. Like that would have been so cool. Like we all lost brothers and cousins, and you didn't even lose like your appetite or something. It was like something good. And then the Starks clash in, and then they're all friends again, and the North is all like, yeah, we didn't just try to kill each other. Because after the Battle of the Bastards, it's like, oh, the North is ours. Like, dude, there was a whole contingency that was like, fuck the Starks.
You know what? I had not. I wasn't really aware of that theory because, like I said in the past, when I got into it, it was halfway through season 7. So even by the time I had read the books before season 8 came out, that had already passed. So yeah, that would have been an amazing moment to see in the show.
Oh yeah, I definitely think so. I definitely think that would have been a lot more like, hey fans, you're good you guys to hang in there with the Starks. Instead it was just straightforward. It was like, are they gonna get any more help? That's it. They're just okay, and then it was like, the Veil shows up. It's like, well, that wasn't even set up at all. Like, there was all this other potential setup for other. Oh, jeez, you guys. And then now in the process, the Starks can't even trust their most trusted bannermen, like the Umbers, Karstarks, Boltons, Manderleys. They're all unworthy vassals, and they didn't answer the call, so they all need to have their heads chopped off. Like, no, it's okay. I don't want it.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah.
Oh. Anything else?
No, that was it. I was just gonna say, but yeah, that's kind of it. Those are my 5 favorite theories that happened, and yeah.
Well, Dan, thank you so much. We will get together again soon to do my top 5 favorite theories. It's actually kind of funny because I'm a little annoyed with you because you actually touched on a couple of them at the beginning, but luckily they weren't in your top 5. So it won't be as much wasted breath for me.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Well, until next time, my friend, thanks again for having me and let me vent about Game of Thrones.